$84 million. That was on the table. And Dennis Schroeder said no.
With Dennis Shruder, the Lakers allegedly offered him a deal, Brian, and he turned that deal down. What do we know about that situation?
A year later, he was worth just $5.9 million.
Dennis Schroeder announced on Instagram just moments ago that he will be joining the Boston Celtics for the 2021-2022 season, and reports are, Max, it is for that mid-level, so just $5.9 million.
This isn't just about bad decisions, it's about how fast your value can collapse in the NBA. From all-stars to outcasts, players thought they were betting on themselves, but in reality, they were walking off a cliff. Because in a league where your worth can vanish overnight, saying no at the wrong time can destroy everything. This is the story of NBA players who turned down life-changing money and never recovered. 1. Dennis Schroeder. In 2021, Dennis Schroeder had just wrapped up a strong season with the Los Angeles Lakers. He wasn't an all-star, but he played a key role, averaging 15.4 points, 5.8 assists, and bringing high-energy defense to a championship-caliber team. The Lakers saw him as a long-term piece, someone who could stabilize the backcourt next to LeBron and AD. So they offered him a 4-year, $84 million extension, fully guaranteed.
He can extend between now and the end of the year for 4 years and $84 million. That is about what Fred VanVleet signed for with the Toronto Raptors last year. So it's actually not a bad comparison.
But Schroeder didn't bite. He reportedly wanted more, closer to $100 to $120 million, thinking he could become one of the most sought-after point guards in the 2021 free agency class. He believed he had leverage, that the Knicks, Bulls, or another guard-needy team would outbid the Lakers. So he turned it down. What happened next? Silence. Free agency opened, and no one came knocking. Teams filled their point guard needs quickly. Chicago got Lonzo Ball. Miami locked in Kyle Lowry. New York re-signed Derrick Rose, and most contenders didn't see Schroeder as a major upgrade. The offers he expected, they never came. Weeks later, the best he could get was a 1-year, $5.9 million deal with the Boston Celtics, a fraction of what the Lakers had put on the table. Suddenly, Schroeder wasn't just a free agent misfire, he became a cautionary tale. The internet piled on. Fumbled the bag memes exploded across Twitter and Reddit. Fans joked he'd turned $84 million into a mid-level exception. Some even questioned if he'd ever see another big contract again. Even Schroeder himself, to his credit, acknowledged it. In an Instagram post, he wrote, "I'm gonna do this for my family. And yes, I fumbled the bag. But I'm gonna bounce back." And to some degree, he did. He stayed in the league, played decent minutes, and even returned to the Lakers in 2022 on a vet deal. But he never got close to that $84 million again. In NBA history, there are bad trades, bad shots.
You gotta look at that time.
And here's Fed. That will not make the highlights.
And then there's bad timing. Dennis Schroeder believed in himself, but timing and market reality didn't believe in him. And the harshest part? He wasn't even the worst case. 2. Latrell Spreewell. Back in 2004, Latrell Spreewell was nearing the end of a long, often controversial career, but he was still a key piece for the Minnesota Timberwolves. The team had just made it to the Western Conference Finals with Kevin Garnett, Sam Cassell, and Spreewell as their big three. Spreewell was 34 years old, averaging 12.8 points per game, and playing about 30 minutes a night. Still productive, still clearly on the decline. That summer, Minnesota offered him a 3-year extension worth $21 million, about $7 million per year. For a player his age, with his baggage, it was a reasonable deal, but Spreewell took it as a personal insult. When asked why he turned it down, he fired back with a line that would haunt him forever. "I got a family to feed. In today's money, $21 million is over $33 million. And yet, Spreewell acted like it was spare change. The internet torched him. Sports radio mocked him. That one quote became a symbol of NBA entitlement. But here's what made it worse. He didn't just turn down the deal, he imploded. During the 2004-2005 season, he showed up out of shape. His production dropped even further to 12.8 points per game and 41% shooting. He clashed with management and publicly refused to even negotiate any further extensions. By the end of the season, he was a free agent, and no one called. Not the Timberwolves, not any other team. No workouts, no training camp invites, no vet minimums. He never played again. Latrell Spreewell went from a playoff starter on a contender to completely out of the league in a matter of months. $21 million? Gone forever. And in a tragic twist, Spreewell would later face serious financial issues. He had his yacht repossessed, lost multiple homes, was sued for $200,000 in unpaid child support, and became a cautionary tale not just for pride, but for poor planning. This wasn't just a contract fumble, it was one of the most dramatic collapses in NBA financial history. Spreewell lost millions because of pride, but Isaiah, he lost everything because of loyalty. 3. Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas was a storm. He was averaging 28.9 points per game, leading the Celtics to the #1 seed in the East, and putting the league on notice, despite being just 5'9". He played through injuries, he played through grief after the tragic death of his sister.
Tragic news affecting Boston Celtics star Isaiah Thomas. His sister was killed in a one-car accident early Saturday morning, according to Washington State Police.
He gave everything to Boston, and in return, he expected the bag. They better bring the Brinks truck, he said.
Let the cards fall where they may, but I'm happy for all the guards and all the other guys getting their money because they deserve it. But, I mean, my time's coming. They know they got to bring the Brinks truck out. They know that.
The math was there. A max contract would have paid him over $150 million. But then, Boston traded him. His hip was worse than anyone thought. Recovery was slow. The teams got nervous. He bounced from the Cavaliers to the Lakers to 10-day contracts. That $150 million? Gone. And Isaiah? Still grinding. Still hoping for a real deal, but never the same. One injury. One decision. Game over. And if you think that hurts, wait until you hear Victor Oladipo's story. 4. Victor Oladipo. Victor Oladipo wasn't just good, he was explosive. 2-time All-Star, defensive menace, go-to scorer. In Indiana, he looked like a future franchise cornerstone. In 2020, the Pacers offered him $45 million for 2 years. He declined. He believed he was worth more, and to be fair, he was. When healthy. Then came Houston. They offered him $42 million for 2 years. He said no again. The next thing to say no was his body. First his knee, then his quad, then everything fell apart.
They called a foul on Victor. They're going to say he took his legs out from under. Victor's hurt. Boy, I'm going to look at his kneecap. You can see it. Yeah.
His explosiveness? Gone. His value? Crashed. He took vet minimum deals just to stay in the league, and today he's barely clinging to relevance, a shadow of the all-star he once was. But as brutal as that is, it's not the biggest financial fall on this list. 5. DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Boogie Cousins was averaging 25 and 12 for the Pelicans. He was dominant, an old-school big with modern skills. New Orleans offered him 2 years, $40 million. But Boogie didn't just want good money, he wanted the max. He saw himself as a $100 million plus player. And maybe he was, until his Achilles tore. That one injury? Devastating. He signed with Golden State for $5.3 million, but the nightmare wasn't over. In the next 2 years, he tore his quad, then his ACL. 3 catastrophic injuries. 3 lost chances. Boogie bounced from team to team, never regaining form. Never got the max, never got close. Today, he's out of the league and still searching for a comeback. You'd think players would learn after this, but some keep making the same mistake. 6. Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel never quite reached star status, but he was a promising big man. In 2017, the Dallas Mavericks offered him a 4-year, $70 million deal. He said no. He believed he was worth more, and he was told he'd get it. So he took a $4.1 million qualifying offer, thinking he'd re-enter free agency and cash in. Instead, he underperformed, got injured, never got another big offer. Years later, he even sued his agent, saying he got bad advice that cost him over $50 million.
This lawsuit against Rich Paul by Noel claims that he lost $58 million in potential salary while he was being represented by Rich Paul.
Yep.
A young center with potential, gambled everything, and lost. And then there are stories that just don't cost players money, they cost them their entire careers. 7. Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker spent 8 years in Charlotte. He was their heart, their all-star, their identity. And in 2019, he was eligible for the Supermax, up to $221 million. But he stayed loyal, took less, signed with Boston for about $140 million. It looked fine at first. Then the knee issues started. Load management, inconsistent play. He was traded, waived, and eventually out of the league. Here's the punchline. Even if Kemba had stayed in Charlotte and never played again, he would have made $100 million more. Loyalty? It cost him everything. And it's not just the stars. 8. Marke Morris. In 2014, the Phoenix Suns offered Marke Morris a 4-year, $32 million extension, and he accepted it. But the trouble started a year later. In 2015, Phoenix traded his twin brother Marcus Morris to Detroit. Markieff was furious, feeling betrayed by the organization. His performance dipped, and his attitude turned toxic. Benchings, fines. Even a $10,000 penalty for throwing a towel at his coach. That led Phoenix to trade him to Washington in 2016. While Morris had solid movements with the Wizards, even starting for playoff teams, his contract never improved. He was still on that $8 million a year deal, and after it ended, he only got vet minimum or low-level deals from then on. Had Morris kept a good relationship with Phoenix and played consistently, he could have been in line for a second big deal, worth $40 million plus. But after clashing with management, his stock fell and never recovered. But some players don't just lose money from bad attitude. Others lose it chasing a comeback that never arrives. 9. Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl Harrell was a force of energy. In 2020, he won 6th Man of the Year with the Clippers, averaging 18.6 points and 7.1 rebounds per game off the bench. He was relentless, undersized for a center, but ferocious. He entered free agency that offseason looking like one of the top role players available. But instead of cashing in, he shocked everyone by signing with the Lakers for just $19 million over 2 years. A short-term deal, no long-term security. And to make things worse, he joined a roster where his playstyle didn't fit. His minutes shrank, his impact dropped, and when the playoffs hit, he was barely on the floor. From there, it spiraled. He bounced from the Lakers, to the Wizards, to the Hornets. Each stop came with fewer minutes, smaller roles, and lower offers. By 2022, he was on minimum contracts, and by 2023, he was out of the league entirely. He was just 29 years old. Harrell never got that big bag, and the worst part, he could have. If he waited, picked the right system, or taken a longer deal with a team that valued his skill set, he might have earned $40 to $60 million more across his career. Instead, he bet on the moment, not the future. And that moment didn't last. 10. Ben McLemore. Ben McLemore was drafted 7th overall by the Kings in 2013.
With the 7th pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Ben McLemore.
Seen as a potential 3-and-D guard with elite athleticism. By the end of his rookie contract, McLemore had shown flashes, especially in his 3rd year, averaging 12.1 points per game with solid shooting. Teams were still intrigued by his upside. In 2017, he hit free agency, and rather than take a short, lower-value extension with Sacramento, he bet on himself. He signed a 2-year, $10.7 million deal with the Memphis Grizzlies, hoping to prove his worth and get a bigger payday after. But injuries hit immediately. He fractured his foot before even playing a regular season game. His performance dipped, and Memphis traded him back to the Kings. From there, he bounced around. Houston, Lakers, Blazers, and then eventually out of the league. Despite brief scoring bursts, he never recaptured the momentum, and never got another real contract beyond vet minimums. That bet on himself cost him long-term security. If he'd taken a modest extension early, or accepted a lower role with a strong team, he could have built a steady $30 million plus career. Instead, he got caught in the fringe. In the NBA, betting on yourself is praised. It's heroic, it's bold. It's what separates the stars from the sacred. But when the bet backfires, there's no refund. These players didn't just lose money, they lost stability, careers, legacies, and sometimes even peace of mind. So the next time you hear a player say, "I bet on myself," remember, that bet doesn't always pay off. Sometimes it costs everything. Hit like and tell us in the comments, which of these players fumbled the bag the hardest? And if you want more cautionary scoops from inside the NBA, subscribe. We've got stories coming that'll blow your mind.